What's up, everybody? This is Abstract Square Podcast. This is episode number 2, and I'm excited because I got some really special people in the room today. And Thomas. I'm Chad, your host. My guy Thomas, and our special guest, Jessica. And my guy, GrayRizzy.
What up, man?
What's going on? Hear the scratchiness in my voice?
Yeah.
I said, what's going on?
You sound like you had a wild night.
Wild evening. Can we talk about that?
Yo, last night was crazy.
Stop saying night. It wasn't night at all.
It's evening.
Last evening was crazy.
Daylight savings.
Daylight savings party. It felt like
after work. Let's just call it after work.
after work. We went to a Hillman homecoming party. Think about that.
I saw this on Instagram. Was it like all the HBCUs or something
Yeah.
like that? Okay.
Right. So Thomas and I get there super early. Like literally we were the first people in the
Pure
building.
thirst mode.
Opened it up.
Pure thirst.
Yeah.
And part of it was my problem. It was my fault because I thought it was open bar from 5 to 6.
Oh, you was focused.
I was focused.
Super
I was
focused.
You was back in college.
Yeah, I had the
Gotta get there
mindset.
early.
I had the
18-year-old.
Yeah, I had the mindset like, yo, this is gonna be lit. I want to make sure I get this open bar going.
Live your best life.
Live my best life.
DRNNY.
Yes, my wife was coming out.
Yes,
like
Danny.
I wanted her to get that experience that I had at homecoming. So I was kind of hyped.
All
Did you
after
think-
work.
All after work.
All after.
You thought that far into it. You wanted your
did.
wife to get this experience, and
Yeah,
that's the
you know.
excitement for you.
It was.
exciting.
Thomas, you didn't know this plan, huh?
Nah, I just wanted to get drunk.
Okay.
And you did.
We all did. The cool thing about it is everyone just like, I'm just going to let my hair down, do what I want to do, not care. No one's going to judge me, and it was cool.
Yeah, that's exactly how I looked at it.
Chad was
And
dancing on the couch, actually.
You didn't know.
I think I was the first person to stand on the couch.
Absolutely.
Can I just tell you what it was like looking in from Insta Story? So I was, casually shopping yesterday evening for Coachella, trying to get my looks together. And I'm like, oh my God, Chad and Danny are posting at the same time. What could this be about? I see a Hennessy bottle with like the sparkly thing, and it's like 7 p.m. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I was like, are they here? I could have sworn Danielle said that she was in New York because we
Right.
worked together.
Yeah.
But I was quite shocked and surprised because,
know.
it was 7
It was 7 p.m.
p.m.
We weren't the first Sparkles to actually.
No, we actually
start.
waited.
You waited.
We waited.
There was
Oh,
Sparkles at
patience.
5:30, 6 o'clock.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
1 bottle, 2 bottle, 3 bottle, 4.
I mean, really.
It was crazy. Yeah. Like,
It was
But the
still
bottle girl,
light.
too, was just like pumping it up. I mean, I'm like, am I doing something wrong? Like, I don't know.
no, you know what's so interesting? You said it last night. The sparkles, they make you want to buy more bottles.
It's all the science, man.
Yeah.
It's festive.
It's bar science.
It's a science.
It's
It
a
is.
science.
It really is. Like, you see, usually it used to be once you see that first bottle, that's like the start of the dominoes falling.
Right.
And then, as you get more drunk throughout the night, then everybody starts buying it, and everybody, towards the end of the night or, that next morning, the fuck did I do?
Exactly.
What did I do?
Yo, because I was on the verge of saying, yo, Thomas, let's get another bottle.
See?
No.
You see what I'm
I
saying?
was on the verge. And I don't even do bottle
You was
service.
wilding for the night.
I don't
recall.
even do
I recall the
bottle
time you got a
service.
little bit upset about a bottle service.
Absolutely.
why did we do that?
Yeah, but we did it at a restaurant. Come on. Bottle service at a
But it was
restaurant.
also like midnight,
It's
which
actually
is a
a
little bit more
speakeasy.
it's a speakeasy,
To
true
me.
facts. But it was also more appropriate timing for a bottle, like midnight, not like 7 p.m. So I was quite shocked. But
Are you
I'm
judging
happy.
me, Jessica?
No, I said I'm happy for
Slightly.
you. You lived your best
Slightly
life.
judging me, right,
I mean,
Rizzy?
there's no judgment. No judgment.
I feel judged.
I'm judging you. I'm not even good. I'm definitely judging you. Do you get like a early bird discount with that?
That's the funny part.
Is
No.
it like a $15 discount?
Not
There's
at all.
no, right?
Nothing.
Once you step through the door, you know what it is.
It is
Right.
what it is.
No free shots.
and I was so drunk. I think all of us were drunk.
Were?
You're still drunk?
Definitely.
He's
Oh,
still
no.
going.
Yeah, he's still going.
Takes a sip.
There you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah. Our friend Rashawn, he was the first one drunk. And he threw up, man.
Oh,
Did he?
damn.
Yeah, he threw up so early in the game. And that's why it was so easy for him at the end of the night to buy everyone a shots of Henny. Because he had already lost his earlier in the game.
My favorite thing about yesterday is it didn't get competitive. So sometimes when everyone's popping bottles, you got to make sure that you have just as many as the person next to you.
Yeah.
It didn't get there, so that made me happy. I didn't just
Right.
blow it
Well-
back for no reason.
Hey, that shit never bothers me.
It didn't, but I did
I'm
peep the
competitive like
girls.
that.
The girls at the next table, they did go one extra bottle.
Yeah. See, if I would have seen that and noticed it, I would have juiced you. You would have juiced me back.
Right.
Did it.
Yeah, they were kind of clocking us all night.
Really? I don't pay attention to women, especially when my wife is around. So
you better stay woke. You should definitely pay attention.
I try to just totally just don't think they exist when she's around at all.
Stay woke, brother.
Yeah. Backing away from this conversation.
Keep me away. Women stay away. Let me alone, Becky.
Yo, so I was thinking about like what should we talk about, right? And you know, Rizzy and I, we were kind of like bouncing some ideas around, and one thing that kind of came to mind was like dating in NYC, right? Like I think, and it's interesting that we were talking about like staying woke and not really
Becky leaving you
alone, and you know, I was like, wow, it's kind of interesting thinking about like females dating in NYC, right? Like how interesting it is for them. And I've always heard that, you know, women dating, it's tough for them to date in NYC, like being single.
Looking at me like
I'm looking at you like this sounds nuts. It's got to be the easiest thing in the world.
No,
just spend our money.
No, well, okay, true. I mean, as a woman who has dated in NYC, I will say this: I've become very spoiled. But I think I have a reputation for being like, okay, if you take Jessica out, you're going to have to, you know, treat her. You have to take her somewhere.
You got to explain these rules, man.
Yeah.
Well, it's not a rule.
You're the exact person. I'm the union. I stand up and pick you all day.
No, but here's the thing.
Explain this.
Here's the thing. Okay, so there's a plus side of dating in New York. New York has a lot of people who are successful, people who like nice things. And New York has a lot of nice places, and it's not expensive. You know, you can go to a nice little restaurant in Brooklyn. It's nice. It's not too pricey. You know, you can go to drinks. Everything's in walking distance. So you can meet up after work, go to drinks, go to dinner. I mean, and I guess for the guy, it does kind of add up at the end of it.
Mm-hmm. you guess?
Maybe, yeah, just a little bit. And, you know, I can say I'm guilty of being a person that, you know, takes full advantage, and not in a negative way, but
there's no way to say that positively.
Right? No, but in terms of I embrace it. Now, I do also treat men if we're, you know, a little bit more serious.
Wait, why do you guys have to be serious in order to treat him?
I mean, like, I'm not going to treat you in a second date.
He treated you on the first,
maybe,
and the second,
and it sounded like he treated well. Like
right,
he went some really good places.
I mean, like food. Drinks, like,
so
ain't like we going on
she
helicopter
really just said, like, really? Food?
What's the average bill here? Like, I mean, what's the average cost?
Oh my God.
End of the night.
Do you even know?
Yeah, do you even know?
She doesn't even know. Because she's never bought.
I know. I remember. It was yesterday.
I have bought. I do. Okay. I do treat, like, the person that I'm dating.
No. Not dating.
First date.
Like, have you bought within like the first 5 dates?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, because that's consistency.
3.5.
Like, I have. I've done. I maybe number 4. Like by number 4, I just have like a stride.
See, now this is the question I always get into with women. Is there like a list, or is there a counter? Is there a trigger? Like, I have to hit this mark before this happens?
No, I mean, for me, like, it depends on the vibe, right? Like, I've gone on a lot of dates, and there's some guys that don't make it past date number 1. It's like, oh, you were cool, yeah, but we're not vibing. We're not vibing, so I'm not going to stay in a situation for some free food and free drinks. And
but Jess, you're successful. There's a lot of women who do.
But see, that ain't Jess.
Okay,
you know, Jess is different.
All right, Jess is different.
See, you know,
be like Jess.
Be like Jess.
Okay,
no, don't be like Jess.
Don't be like Jess.
Be like Jess at 33. Don't be like Jess at 27. But the one thing that I will say is the plus side of dating in New York is that you get to meet a lot of great people. You have a lot of great experiences, because New York is a city that, you know, you can go out and have like the best night of your life very randomly. On the downside, there's so many women, like, men are afraid to commit, or they string you along until, like, they feel like they want to be done and want to be with somebody else. And so I would say I've had 2 major heartbreaks since I moved here 7 years ago. Very, very painful, because I mean, this is like a significant amount of time to me. You know, if I make it like a year with you, or I would say even 8 months, like, I'm invested, because I'm 27-year-old Jess.
Are you a spreadsheet woman?
I'm not a spreadsheet woman.
Okay, I just want to be clear. Like,
no.
You're creative. Okay.
There's no checklist for me.
There's no box.
There's no box.
Okay, all right.
No, all my guys are different. They're all very, very different.
Okay.
And I remember the last guy I dated, my friends were kind of like, yo, he's not even anywhere where we expected for you because I'd like to try new things, diversify.
Explain that.
Was he dusty?
I'm so glad I'm wearing my Howard sweatshirt because I feel like I'm on the spot. I didn't know this was going to be the topic, Chad.
I set Jess up.
You did. You set me up for like the major fail.
Not a fail. I feel like there's men out there learning right now.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so let me explain something to men.
And women.
And ladies, we all been here before. Men, here's my biggest pet peeve about men in New York. If you know the woman is not the one, but you know that she wants to progress in her life and in her relationship and like be serious, get married, have kids, back out early. That's the thing. Don't try to pretend that you're so invested. Oh yeah, I want to be with you. That's like, can I curse?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's bullshit because we grown. We ain't got time. Life is very short. And, over Christmas, I actually found somebody dead, my neighbor. And so that was like a wake-up call to me. Like, you know what? You could be sitting on your couch, wrapping Christmas gifts, and having a heart attack and die. So time is very valuable. And I would say for women, like, ask the questions, have real conversations, like, don't be strung along, don't get played. And you have to get to a point in your life and become mature enough to be able to have that tough conversation and say, listen, this is the track that I'm on. Where do you see this going? If you do not see yourself with me, like, let me know now so that we can, like, bow out.
And this is like 8 months in? Is that about?
For me, yeah, because I don't want to waste a year of my life with
That's
somebody.
a long time.
I think that's fair.
That's a long time.
8 months is a long time.
Yeah, it is.
By that time,
Yeah.
you know how she brushed her teeth and spit in the sink.
Yeah.
That was my pet peeve all the time. Like that's how I chose my woman. Like if she spit all around the sink, I can't fuck with it. I can't
So
deal
let
with
me
it.
ask you this question: Have you had sex within the 8 months? Like,
Of
shouldn't you have
course.
this conversation before you even had sex?
Oh, come on, no.
Chad, that's not realistic.
Right.
I'm saying.
8 months? No, because just because
Maybe
you
in
sleep with
Utah,
maybe,
So
yeah,
like 8 days.
maybe in North Dakota.
North Dakota or something.
No, because the thing is, it's like I'm a woman, and just because I have sex with you doesn't mean I have feelings for you. I have had sex with people and had no feelings.
That bothers me so much.
Well, I mean, at 30 plus, like in my 20s, no.
Mhm.
But in my 20s, I had like 2-year relationships, 3-year relationships, 4-year, But like at over 30, it's like, you know what? You sometimes, at some point, you become a little bit desensitized. I mean, I have had sex with men that I had no feelings for. But it's not like that was our first time. I may have had feelings for you at one point, and you have done something to like turn me off. And then, if I'm single and I have like a drunk night and I'm like, hey, what you doing?
Still serve a purpose.
You serve a purpose, but
Right.
we're not dating. There may have been some time, but
Let me ask
'cause
you
I don't
this
like
question.
numbers. I don't want to like climb
Did the
numbers.
guys feel? Did they ever feel used, or they was just with it? Like, did they
No.
understand what that was? That relationship was?
No, because the thing is, it may have started out as one thing and then we ended it. Right? Time has passed. You run into them, or you start kind of talking again.
Right.
You do it
Hey,
again.
big head. Yeah.
Hey, big head. It's a hey, big head thing. But
Right,
I don't like get into sexual relationships with people that I have no interest in at all. Because I'm very, the only thing that I'm, like, when it comes to numbers, the thing that I'm concerned about is my body count. Because I don't want to go over a
Oh,
certain
you can't have a lot of bodies.
Wait.
guys.
Let's talk about that, please.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Yeah,
Why are you
there's a
concerned with
lot.
that?
There's a
You
lot
adult.
of like prude women out there. Explain the body count. Real quick.
Okay, so I don't think that I'm prude, but I am conscious about, like, I feel like my body, my temple is like a thing. Like, if you can make it past a certain point with me, like, you should feel very privileged. And that's just how I look at my body. I don't want no diseases. I don't want and I don't think that every man deserves my body. I mean, honestly, I really don't. Because this is like a treat for you. Like, why would I give you a treat when I have people that I may have given a treat to that I can easily go back to like that? Like, why do I have to expose myself to anybody new if I don't feel an emotional connection?
That's
So
crazy.
what's a bad body count then? Like, what's the number that you will never ever get to because that's beyond?
Like, my thing is this, ladies, now we're 30 plus now, right? Never go over 20. I feel like if you go over 20, that's a horrible thing. I'm not even comfortable with teens, but at the end of the day, because the thing is, luckily for me, I've had longer relationships in my 20s, and I didn't lose my virginity until I was 17. But I mean, the reason that the number is 20 is because I have friends that have gone above that. and that kind of are like slightly below that. So I don't want to offend anybody.
You
And
know
my
you
thing
got
is,
friends that are really in that 40, 50 range, right?
I don't have any friends in it. Well,
Yes,
no,
you
no,
do.
yeah, you do.
I probably
Yeah, you
do, but I don't know. Like,
you don't know.
The highest that I've heard from a friend is 30.
You went to Howard.
She's
There are
really
girls that went
50.
through
She's
20.
50 plus. She's probably
Really?
50 plus.
See,
Yeah.
I mean, but see, the thing is, like, your girls, we're not gonna lie to each other. You know what I'm saying?
No, you are.
You
Like,
are.
You're allowed to
Really?
do it all
Well,
the time.
maybe they'll lie to me because they know that I'm not.
Right.
I'm not a overly.
You're the
like,
teen. You're the teen friend. You're the
Right.
teen
I
friend.
mean, I was like one of the literally the last person in my
yeah,
friend
you
group to
wouldn't,
lose my virginity.
you wouldn't necessarily
And I was with
understand why
somebody
she's
for like
at 50
2
plus.
years. I can't
Right.
understand 50 plus. I can't even understand 20
Is
plus.
she
but,
married?
No. So that number's
Oh,
going to
she's
continue to
definitely
climb.
50 plus right now.
You think?
Yeah.
There are
50.
women that went
Yeah.
to Howard with you that are past 20 in a semester, without a
See,
doubt.
that wasn't my lifestyle.
Maybe not yours, but definitely your friends.
I was
Yeah.
very conservative. I was a
Homecoming?
little bit more conservative.
Homecoming is at least worth five a weekend.
What?
5 a weekend.
For
Absolutely.
women?
For women.
For
Yeah.
men?
Yeah.
Not for women.
You heard what Biggie
for
said.
women.
No.
Women have sex
Absolutely.
easier than men.
No.
By far.
Well, maybe I just don't.
You
Y'all
can just
choose.
choose. You can just go down the block and say, "Hey, I want to do it." Dude's gonna say yes.
It's not like a dude really
No.
gonna think.
Yeah,
See, I don't know. I can't
Me?
identify with that.
You gonna be like, me? Oh, psh, all right.
great.
No.
Right here.
I can't identify with that because I
And he'll
like.
take you to dinner too.
Yeah.
Nah, I can't identify with that.
What have you guys experienced? Like, I mean, did y'all date here in New York City? Because y'all spent a lot of time in Atlanta for school. HBCU guys.
Oh, yeah.
I definitely dated here
Yeah.
before I met my wife.
What was that like for you?
It was a nightmare
Why?
because like I was in
can't believe
Queens.
This sounds like some Sex in the City shit.
I,
Well, why?
I was in Queens, and every female that I met was in a different borough. I never realized how challenging that was until I actually started to go through it.
This was a convenience thing for you.
I'm all about convenience.
This is nuts. The nightmare was the commute.
I'm all about convenience. All about convenience. Nah, it was interesting because I was making very little money when I got here. So to date and like have to court a female for multiple times and looking at my bank account like, yo, where's this really going? Like,
Is that how you judged if you liked her or not?
yeah, like where's this really going? Like, because spending money, like I was literally at dinner one time with the female and I'm like counting the bill before it even got there. Like, all right, $12 for that drink.
No.
$10 for that drink.
Are you kidding me? That became a habit for me.
What?
That's real.
'Cause
That's
you
a
go
real
on-
thing.
You go on like 3 to 4 dates in a week sometimes, and you're gonna spend $200 to $300 each night you go out.
And there's no problem.
And then I still have to
There's a-
support my own life.
Right, and then I have to live.
Yeah, I have to like eat lunch.
So you say, hey, she's getting lobster? Great, I'm getting a burger that day. Or she's getting, listen to what she's getting, and then you order what you're getting. That way you don't overspend that day. It's like
Right.
a real
Like
thing.
I had to plan for the entire day. Like up for lunch because I know I'm going on this date later.
Yeah.
Let's weigh this salad at the salad bar.
oh my God.
Up $5 a pound. Nah.
So, Thomas, I got to hear your thing before I say anything. But it was the same experience for you, like with Chad?
completely, but I'm way less responsible with money.
Way
So,
less responsible. And we
I
lived
just-
together.
yeah.
So I
y'all
would,
were roommates.
We were
Yeah.
roommates.
Oh
so I
my
would
God.
see what he would spend and I'd be like, yo, you're bugging.
Yeah, they would like choose the best restaurant they could possibly choose. 'Cause that's what y'all do, Jess. You say,
No.
hey, I want to go to, I don't know, Fogo de
Mastro?
Chao
No.
or something crazy.
See, I don't do that.
And it's like, you don't even eat meat, but you want to go to like a
Fresh
Brazilian
away.
restaurant because you just
Right.
saw it on, at that point, Twitter.
Somebody said something about it.
Yeah.
Right.
But you know what though? That's a boundary crosser. Like you're not gonna ask for no like Mastros or whatever or like Nobu like on a third date. You know, you have to have like a.
You won't.
I know.
They will.
They will.
But see, I mean,
They
that's
are.
why I can't identify. You know.
Okay, wait. Let's back up for a second. What's a first date for Jess, location wise? What's a place that you would go without feeling offended? Because you know y'all feel offended if y'all are taken to the wrong place on the first date.
I'm gonna talk about the person I'm currently seeing. Our first date was like Verlaine. It's because I really love the $5 lychee martinis, and like I have that side where I'm like, I just want my Thai food and my lychee martinis or a good glass of wine.
That also sounds like you've done stuff before that, right? Like you've already experienced New York, so
Right.
you know what you like. But let's talk about it as if you never did and you just wanted to choose a place.
What if he said, hey, you want to go to Ruby Tuesdays?
Oh, she clutched her pearl.
Right.
Y'all didn't even
Clutched
see
her
that
pearl.
just now.
She's
She
like,
clutched her
ooh.
pearl.
Jess is like, that's disrespectful.
I mean,
Or what if he would have mentioned Verlaine and not you, right?
I would have been like lit because I like to have fun. See, for me, I like to have a good time. Now, I can do upscale. I could do middle scale.
Wait, you didn't even answer my question.
She clutched her pearls, Chad.
It's not even
No,
my
I need-
nameplate. I'm like, you have. For first date?
Yeah, what's wrong with Ruby Tuesdays?
Everything is wrong.
Wrong.
go to
Like,
Forget the date, right? Just in
Actually,
general.
Verlaine is probably not as expensive as Ruby
Ruby
Tuesdays.
Tuesdays,
That's
but
the
it's-
crazy
it's
part. But the
cool.
ambiance of it is better.
it's
Right.
cool. The food
Right.
is good. And then the last guy.
You fucked up that sponsorship.
Dang, man. No Ruby Tuesdays for you. No Ruby Tuesday. Now, I will say there. Okay, so.
Salad
It
bar?
de-
That's crazy.
It depends. Like, so there's this one guy. I only went out on one date with him. He chose the restaurant. He took me to a really nice steakhouse. Now, this is a steakhouse that I go to for like happy hour because it's near the job. But like, he was like, oh, let's go to American Cut. This is our first date, and I'm like, all right, cool. And he spent like $400. Now, I was looking at him like, okay, I'm not going to drink anymore because this bill is getting, because he was like, we're each getting steak. Do you want an appetizer? Oh, do you want sides too? Let's get 3 sides. Okay. And let's get a bottle of wine. Oh, and I'm going to have your best scotch. And I'm looking at him like, I'm not even comfortable
well,
right now.
And you
think
only went on
let's-
one date with this guy?
I only went on one
Yeah,
date.
so there's
He's a clown.
well, but wait, there's a couple different variables
the
here,
fool.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a fool. But there's a couple different variables
so I've
that
had a
I
lot.
feel play into this because a guy that's pretty successful, $400 to him for dinner might be light, right?
Nothing.
But for me, 7 years ago, making very little money, like that's not happening. So let me ask you this question as a female dating in New York City. How do you guys date someone that's not as successful as you? Like, because that's a real issue that in today's world, men are just not as successful as women are.
You know what's so funny? In my dating experience in New York, the 2 people that I got the most serious with in the past were both less successful than me. So for me, I mean, and it's funny because the more successful guys that I date, I don't know. Like, I just wasn't feeling it. Like, I've dated a millionaire. I wasn't feeling it. And he just spent a lot of money. And we went on a few dates, but I actually cut him off because I was just like, you know what? I'm not feeling this. But it's interesting because the people that I actually connect with the most are either equally successful or not as successful. And the way that I balance that is I understand that they do everything they can to make me happy. Now, I don't need like Louis Vuitton, Gucci bags, Prada bag. I'm not a person that likes things. So whenever I get like a gift, I'm always like, oh my God, like I'll be looking it up online. Like, I hope you didn't spend too much on this, you know? But honestly, I feel more comfortable with people that's my match. You know what I'm saying? And then also if you're not making as much as me, like I'll meet you halfway. You know, that's why like I'll treat, or I won't be like, I want to go to very expensive.
Okay, so you meet a guy, right? And you say, oh, so what do you do? He goes, I'm a marketing coordinator.
How old is he?
Doesn't matter. He's a marketing coordinator. And I think we all know that at that level, a marketing coordinator is essentially an entry-level position.
Yeah, but it's like, okay.
And you can almost kind of say, he's not even probably making...
Hey, fellas, don't feel bad. I know Chad has this tone and shit, but
This is Chad voice.
this Chad voice.
No, but like nobody
don't
my
feel
age
bad,
is going to be a
fellas.
marketing
Keep marketing
coordinator.
and
No,
coordinating your
keep
life.
going. Keep going.
Keep
read
going.
shit,
But I think
bro.
it's
Be a marketing
because
director.
for them, right? Like for the fellas that are coming out of school or at a different place in their life, that's not don't compare yourself, but also don't feel bad about where you are, because where you are today doesn't mean you'll be there tomorrow, right? And I think the challenge with that is females don't understand that, because if that was the case, I don't even think I'd be married right now. My wife was making way more money than me when she met me.
But you guys were in your 20s, you know? But here's the bottom line. When I was 20...
Late 20s. Okay.
When I was in my I was like 27, 28 time. Like, it was like this guy I was dating. I was like a account supervisor at a PR agency. He was like, found out that he was like an assistant at a hedge fund. We vibed, we connected. He, even though may not have been making as much as I was, he still like showed me a nice time. But the thing is, more importantly, we connected on an emotional level. And what I did for him is I helped him to elevate. So I pushed him to go to grad school. I pushed him to do things and to pursue his passion and his dreams, and I was supportive, you know? So my thing is, it's like we have to get to a certain point of being connected and emotionally connected and, you know, kind of get to a certain level in the relationship. And then I'm going to encourage you to be your best self. I supported so many random things for him. Like, I'm like, oh, so you want to model today? Okay, well, let's take some pictures. You know what I'm saying?
Would you consider yourself an alpha female?
I'm very much so an alpha female.
Is that your problem with dating men that are more successful than you?
Wow.
Possibly. But you know what, though? I also love to learn from somebody, too. You know, I like that I can be taught, and I understand that there's a lot for me to learn. So actually, most men that I date are equal. I mean, I've dated guys that were more successful than me, but I didn't have a problem with it. The issue came with some of those people where it just wasn't a personality match, you know, like, 'cause some of them guys are like mad corny, and I'm like, I'm trying here.
Yeah, but corny doesn't have a dollar sign connected to it, right? So, like,
but the guys that I met that were more successful were a little corny. They were corny.
Yeah, I can see that.
You know what I'm saying? Or very just pretentious. I don't like pretentious men. I like chill. Like I don't like the we can't have. I'm like, if you don't have this little $11 bottle of rosé because I like it, like chill. You know. But again, it depends on the person. I don't look at money. I look at who you are. I need to see your heart. And that's it.
That's sweet. Next topic. That's kind of corny.
Ladies, go get you a marketing coordinator.
No.
Invest some time in him.
Yup.
They be cheating
Push him
too.
to his best self.
They be cheating too, sis.
Make sure that he doesn't try to model like Jess's old guy.
He had one bad experience. I mean, you know, I supported it. I did.
Yeah.
Tried to sing one day. I said, "You want to sing now? Okay, let's do that."
Oh my gosh. So that's interesting that we talk about like men, black men specifically, at a certain salary range, right? So I was reading this New York Times article the other day, and it was talking about how black men are less likely to be successful or make more money than white men, even though they might come from middle to upper class. So I thought that was interesting. I'm curious to hear your take on that.
You looking at me?
Everyone.
Oh.
Like,
I'm super passionate about that entire topic. I mean, it's pretty simple, right? It's economics. It's where you come from. You're not gonna exceed much based on where you're actually located. Your family is gonna be so we come from like a lot of generations down the line, right? Where success is not really a thing. So a lot of other people are set up way earlier than we are. So it doesn't really translate into like keeping money in your pocket.
But in this case, in the article, was it where the black young men, they came from affluent homes?
Right, that's the thing. They came from affluent homes, and once they progressed in their career, they still didn't make as much money as their white counterparts.
Right. So the likelihood is that they're like the first or second generation affluence, right?
Right.
So it's a different situation when you're coming from like fifth and sixth generation affluence. You don't really know what to do with their money. Like, so we talk about this all the time in my household, right? Where you don't even know how to treat your children because you've never had a real blueprint, because it's the first time that you're actually at this level of success, right? So like, it's going to be that way until we're like 5-6 generations into affluence. Make sense? Right.
Here's the thing. I read an article a long time ago, and it talked about the mentality of white men and women versus the mentality of black men and women in the workplace. They will come in and say, they may have the same amount of experience as you, but they sell themselves and they demand more. I think as black people, we feel we have to reach a certain point or like really, really master. And we're a little bit too conscious about asking for too much.
Right. So that's it. I'm glad you bring that up because, you know, as someone in the HR field, I've always told my peers to be confident when they get to the offer stage. Mm-hmm. You know, what I notice is when we get a job offer, we're just so happy to get it and we accept it. And I think we need to take a step back and say, wait, they made me an offer.
Right.
You know, and think about that, what that really means.
Wow. Yeah.
You know, like they made me an offer, which means they've already selected me and they don't even want to start over again.
No.
So take advantage of that.
Mm-hmm.
Versus
like,
they're doing me a favor.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like take advantage of that. So when you get to offer stage, be confident in the number that you want. Don't just take it because it's given. A company is going to look out for their best interest.
Right.
So the number that they're giving you is their best interest. So now it's your turn to go back and tell them what number is your best interest. It's a conversation.
Can I pose a question to everybody? Sure. Why do you think we undersell ourselves so we just feel so grateful that we're given something? I mean, when we think about the slave mentality, though, and who we come from when we worked for nothing. So when we got that first penny, it was like, oh, we're finally not slaves. And we should be grateful for the penny because we worked for nothing for so long.
Right.
I mean,
I think for me, because I think it's a long shot, right? Uh-huh. So you know where you came from, you know where you are, you know what you're doing next, and you know that it's so unlikely for you to be there that you're just like, I accept it. It is what it is.
That's a problem because because you feel like it's that slave mentality, like I'm going to work until I make it to the house. And when I make it to the house, I'm not going to complain because I made it to the house. And so it's interesting that we bring this up because I remember the job that I have now, they made me first of all, I was offended because the HR person asked me what I wanted to make and offered me less than that and said, you'll make that with your bonus. And I got the job offer like 10 minutes after leaving her office. I got a phone call. And I was so upset because the company that I work for is a large company. I said, I told you what I want my base to be. That number was not with bonus. That was my base. This is my counter. And I have a mentor who I love, and I understand kind of why he called and was like, you countered? Because I was working with him to get the job. He wanted me to call him first. I said, you know what? Honestly, I had to speak up for myself because I know the woman that the HR,
alpha female.
The alpha female. And then also it's like we had this conversation 10 minutes ago.
Right.
And she was a Caucasian female. And I'm like, you think I deserve less? I told you what I wanted. And 10 minutes after leaving, I was hired. But I told you what I wanted. I didn't tell the hiring manager. I told you. And you didn't think I was deserving of that. And so my thing is, if this person who's hiring me thinks I'm deserving to be here, then you need to meet me where I'm asking you to meet me.
Yeah, in most cases with that, come on, man. I don't work in the corporate field like that.
You're so lucky.
I'm on one side with these drug dealers and these all this shit, these so hip hop guys, and on the other side, I'm kind of 1 foot in corporate, but isn't it in the best interest of the person in HR to work on behalf of you? Because don't they get paid as well off of your hire? Is that how it works?
Well, in some instances that's true. In some cases it's not. I think it's in their best interest to make sure you get hired. So because they have metrics to meet. Mm-hmm. But if Jess decides to quit or not quit, but not take that offer, they have to start all over again on that search.
That's a big process, right?
That's a huge process. And there's dollars attached to that process, right? Because every day that someone is not in the seat that Jess is supposed to be in, that's like $10,000. Right. Sometimes even more than that. There is cost associated with that. There's retention associated with that because someone else is doing Jess's job. So, and then it falls back on HR. So they don't want those problems.
There's two things that I'll say. In the first, in what we're talking about right now, I'm one of those people where I say, well, hey, we're already at no. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So if I go into a situation and I'm starting to somewhat negotiate it or open up the talks about it, and I know that there's interest on the other side, I'm already at no. If I don't say anything else, I'm already at no. Mm-hmm. So if I know my value, then I'm going in and I'm going into for the kill. I'm not going into, I'm not a social worker. You feel what I'm saying? Right. To help your company. I know your company needs X, Y, and Z.
Exactly.
So this is my value. I think one of the problems is that we don't always necessarily, especially on my side, sometimes we don't necessarily know our value. Right?
Yep.
So we go into situations like, you're happy to be there. Let me get my foot in the door.
Right.
That's different than knowing your value and what you bring to the table and what this company will give you. That's the first thing. The second thing is your original question. When it comes to, say, black families, white families, both affluent, but say that black person or that black family or that person coming out of that family won't be as successful as the white counterpart. I think sometimes there's a lot of, social and psychological and socio-psychological shit that they try to meet up and match through time because it's a constant war going on in your mind and also in that corporate setting.
Right.
So even though I think Thomas's point was great, like, you know, you might be first, second generation, maybe second generation, maybe, right. But if you're going into this setting, and these people already they already got a jump on you.
Right.
I just had a conversation. Shout out to my man Show, man. He's in the wine business, very successful in the wine business, and he would be like, yo, I don't give a fuck because I get my money. But there would be times when he would be going to different auctions or, you know, speaking with different clients, and 2 of his assistants were white. They would talk to his assistants before they would speak to him.
That's crazy.
And Show was darker than all of us, and Show would just sit there and laugh. But he came from a position of power. Once they realized they fucked up, it cost them even more to deal with him. And he made sure that they knew that in the most tactful way.
Right.
You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's always going to be there. But I think if you got to have a strong mind to get past all of that shit.
Right.
Because if you don't, you're just going to be happy to be there.
And it's a strong mind by yourself, right? Because you don't have anyone to talk to.
Yeah, in most cases, in that room, you usually don't have anybody to speak to.
Right.
In Jess's case, she had a mentor. You might have, in most people's cases, you might have a mentor that you can circle back with later on.
Right.
But when you're in that situation, most times you are by yourself.
Yeah, but even then on a large scale, a lot of times you don't have that mentor, right? A lot of times you don't have that person to speak to. A lot of times you come from a place where there's no one else that can relate at all. So you're just very, very alone. And you make mistakes when you're alone, right? One of my big things I always say is, like, we need big homies because nobody has big homies anymore, right? Like, I've growing up, I had nobody to talk to after people in my family passed away. I had nobody to really, like, say, hey, when should I get married? When should I quit this job? When should I take this job, right? So, like, when you've already done this 5-6 times, 5-6 generations over and over, it becomes simple. But, like, for us, it's not that simple because there's no one to talk to besides your friends and family that are not necessarily been through before. So,
but I don't necessarily agree with that, Thomas. I think that there are people there. It's just that we have to widen our network. We have to widen our broadband.
Totally agree.
Because if you only stay on your block, and I'm just saying this as a scenario, you know, an analogy. If you only stay on your block, then you're not going to know the rest of the world. The world is your block.
Right.
But once you start traveling off your block, going to other boroughs, going to other states, going other regions, whether it be east, south, midwest, west, then internationally, then you start to see the world. We have to make sure that we broaden our network, because then you'll have people to speak with. And then, you know, you still have to have the good sense to say, all right, you saying some bullshit, but there was something in there I can take and I can apply it to, you know, what I need to do from day to day.
Which is a big struggle, though, right? Because that makes a lot of sense on a micro level, right? Like, we can always be friends and talk to each other, but, like, on a large scale, that's pretty impossible. Because economically, you're always going to live within an area of people that are just like you. Mm-hmm. So the conversation, it's going to be really hard for you to, like, really travel and meet those people. It just doesn't make, like, economic sense.
I'll give you an example. I grew up in the South Bronx. So where I'm at in the South Bronx, like, it's like 169 and 3rd Ave. I'm right in between Webster, Washington projects and Forest projects, McKinley. So for me, I was lucky. Like, my aunt was the trigger. My aunt was a successful model. She traveled the world. She got out. So I had something to see, like, oh, okay. Right. All right, cool. Now, she's a woman. I'm not trying to be a female model. That's not the shit that I do. But you know what? Let me go start traveling around and stuff. At least let me start traveling my city more. I'm not going to Brooklyn, though. But let me start traveling my city more.
Here we go.
You know what I'm saying?
When the South Bronx don't want to go to Brooklyn, you know it's real.
And shout to Brooklyn, man. Shout to my roommate Kahinde in college. He was the one who really started me getting into Brooklyn. But my point is, I started seeing my city more. And that shit opened up my eyes to a lot more things. Mm-hmm. If I would have just stayed on that block, my mentality would have been very, very restricted.
Right. But the probability of you leaving that block is super low.
It is if you go ahead, and I always used to say, if you cage yourself to that, if you go ahead and put that ball and chain on your ankle and say, hey, this my block love ain't nothing bigger than the block. Well, then you know what? Then you deserve to be stuck where the fuck you at.
You know what's so interesting? Because I'm listening to the both of you talk, and you said one thing that was very important. You had an impetus to open your mind, and that was your aunt who took a step and was traveling the world and was an international supermodel. When I was in grad school, I did my thesis on the impact of television on Black people when it comes to crime and race. And so, mainly crime. And I interviewed juvenile delinquents in a halfway house that had served 5, 6, 7 years. And this one kid said to me, I grew up in the projects. I had no father. My mom had like 7 kids. The only thing that I saw was my neighborhood. And everybody in my neighborhood was selling drugs, shooting each other. And then I had TV. And I would watch certain shows because their neighborhoods looked like my neighborhoods. And these were the examples. So it's cyclical. I think a lot of these young people who grow up in disadvantaged communities, they don't have that impetus that you had. So I can understand the insecurity of wanting to step out, not knowing how, not knowing who to talk to, where to go.
Not knowing it's available to you at all.
It's not available to you. And it's sad. And I think that's why it's great that there are nonprofit organizations and people going into communities. And now that we have social media, because I did my thesis 10 years ago. It was a different time. Mm-hmm. Instagram wasn't even, you didn't have Instagram. But now you're seeing examples of success and people having these motivational moments. And I think that's a step in the right direction. But at the same time, I can understand both perspectives. But Thomas, I hear you when you say, if I don't know, then I don't know.
Well, let me give you this example too real quick. Because my aunt, even though my aunt never dealt, I've never seen my aunt deal with a black man. Right? The family I came from, you know, my mom was conflicted, you know, drugs and stuff. I was raised by my grandmother. Mm-hmm. Like, this is not a new story.
Right.
This is a story that's very common, right? But I say this, like, sometimes you got to realize your opportunity within the chaos, right? Mm-hmm. So my aunt, while she never dealt, I remember we went to Cali for the first time. I was 13 years old. Mm-hmm. She was dealing with this professional golfer, a PGA golfer. I don't got nothing in common with this dude. But I saw her, there was a friend she had, and she was like, yo, my mom was a player. She was like, yo, he gonna take us around the city, right? It was a black dude. I said, oh shit, she does deal with black men, right? But this is the thing. He said, yo, you know, what do you want to do? It was me and my brother. I was probably 13. My brother was like 8. I was like, what do you want to do? I said, yo, take me to Compton. Take me to South Central. Wow. I want to see that. He looked at my aunt. My aunt was like, she turned red. Like, she was really fair skinned, very, very light skinned. She was like, I don't know. He looked at her. He was like, don't worry. I'll take care of it. I saw him make phone calls, and he drove me through South Central and Compton during the times of the riots. Mm-hmm. And that was the most powerful thing to me. That just showed me how strong it can be when you have a network. Right. I'm a little boy from the East Coast coming to the West Coast. I'm seeing all this NWA shit at the time. I'm seeing everything on the TV. I want to see what this is about. Right. Why? Show me. Now, this is nothing towards the PGA golfer, but the PGA golfer ain't taking me to what I want to see. Right. This guy is, and he was successful, and he was affluent, and he had money, but he was still able. He came from somewhere. And it showed me he wasn't afraid to go back.
Right. Yeah. That's very important. But
that's the rarity.
That was it was rare.
He defied the odds.
But I saw it and I was like, you know what? All right. And that shit always stuck with me. Because after that, I never really understood the importance of having to make the phone call. There's a thing called, quote, the phone call. Absolutely. Unquote. You got to check in. Right? When we drove through all that, I never forgot that, because I remember as I was driving through those blocks, I was seeing head nods. I was seeing people, he would stop, he would talk to people, point to me, give the head nod or whatever. I never forgot any of that. And it showed me that no matter where you go in life, never be afraid to be able to go back.
Absolutely. And give back and pour into that community. Now, that guy, and here's the interesting thing. I know a lot of people like that have defied the odds. And just because you come from a certain environment doesn't mean that you're destined to be there. I think now we have a greater opportunity to defy the odds because you have more access to people through social media and whatever. So I think it's more possible now. You were very fortunate to have had that experience, and I think it's great. And I would never say if you come from a certain community and you make it, never go back. Like that's not realistic.
Don't be the dad from ATL, guy. You got to go back to the track.
You got to go back. You got to go back. You got to go back.
You have to go back.
I just think there's a real... I mean, I don't know. There's a real value in finding people that can do that for you. Having an aunt or having somebody connected to your life that can help you take that first step out for you to even see what's out there.
And I think a piece of it, too, is, taking your ego out of it. I think a lot of times we don't want to ask those questions or ask for guidance because our ego is in the way. So I think that's very important for us to not be afraid to talk to family, friends, people in the churches, the schools that you really respect, and ask for their opinion and guidance on things.
But that's also under the assumption that those people can actually guide you in the right direction, right? So that guy that he met in California was a rare person to meet. That person's just not randomly in your church.
But he also said that sometimes you'll meet people and they'll give you 90% bullshit. You take the 10% that's going to be valuable.
Right, I can agree with that.
Yeah, you have to. There's a certain maturity level. You have to understand what to digest and what not to.
Yeah, you got to be vulnerable.
You do have to be.
You got to be vulnerable,
yeah.
And it's hard because the older you get and the more set in your ways you are, you got to be vulnerable, and you can't be afraid to speak about the things that you want to do because you never know who can help you in doing that.
Yeah, talk about your goals.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, guys, that wraps up episode 2. Thank you, Jess.
Deep episode.
Thank you, GrayRizzy. Thank you, Thomas.
I need a new name, by the way. I don't like being Thomas. It's kind of
Why?
Because he's like GrayRizzy. Like, I think he's cool.
We gotta do a couple more episodes, and maybe we'll let the listeners decide what your name should be.
Yeah. What should Thomas's name be?
We'll figure that out.
We'll figure it out. Well, everyone, I want you guys to enjoy your week. I hope you guys took something valuable away from this conversation. I think the most important thing that I want to make sure I reiterate is to make sure you know your value and be confident in your capabilities. So, peace out.
Bye.
Chill.